This is Joe. This is Dan. All right. To my understanding, Dan is a little bit younger than Joe, if I remember correctly. But all right. So Joe throws a jab. His brother threw a what looked like a hook, then a switch kick. Ended up getting blocked by Joe. Jab cross by Joe. So hook cross by Joe. Dan was throwing though. Oh, Joe caught the kick. Nice. So that's a takedown by Joe. Dan is in a half guard position right now. He's gotta try and make space and get away. Joe's holding him down because he knows that it's kind of difficult in no-gi to hold somebody down in a real way. Like right there, Dan just got the guard position. Now, that's better than the half guard, but as you can see there, it's not the best place for him to be. What he wants to do is do what he just did there. He wants to try and push Joe away to try and stop punches from coming in, but he also wants to get up. Now, out of just sheer trying to scramble, he ended up giving up his back, which is not a good thing, but at least he's to his legs now. Joe ends up trying to take him down and get the hooks. All right, so right there is a triangle choke from Joe. He's trying to lift Dan up. Joe may potentially also have an armbar. I'd have to see different. And that triangle is really in hard there. It's really in deep there. You can see it. He ended up adjusting. What he's doing is he's squeezing his knees together. And I'm not sure if there was a tap. I would assume there was. I would assume there was a tap, and of course he calls his brother a pussy. That's hilarious. I'll be honest with you, I didn't see the tap, but it's mainly because I was focusing on the triangle itself, right? I would assume that there was a tap. I think Dan probably was using his right hand because from the look of it, right? I was focused on the triangle. It looked like there was it looked like he was trying to throw punches, right? But maybe he ended up throwing a punch or two, and then he just started tapping. Who knows? Let's go ahead.
We're keeping that low. Nope.
No elbows.
Oh, come on, Joe. I mean, Dan. Come on, Dan.
Come on, Joe. I mean, Dan. Dan's got to pull his pants up, dude. Low kick from Dan. He should try and check those if he can, but it can be tough. So Joe runs in for the kick. It didn't really land that well. So they're throwing knees to the body. Those are some pretty good knees to the body from Joe. So Joe's got the front headlock position right now. He could go for a Darce choke, but I don't think he ends up doing that. So what Dan needs to, Dan needs to get out. That's a tough position to be in, the front headlock, because you're just carrying the dude's weight. So running forward, swinging wildly. I don't know if that's out of desperation or not. Ooh, he ended up catching Joe, and Joe dropped for the double. I don't think that was a coincidence. I think Joe probably got hurt and was like, all right, let's just hit that double. So there is no guillotine there. Yeah, there's no guillotine, but he's just keeping Joe from posturing up because he knows he's going to be a little bit safer there. In the guard, you either want to get him away or you want to bring him in close. You don't want him to be able to posture up so that he can throw. So, a slam from Joe. Almost looked like he was going for a can opener, but I think he was just lifting up the head to try and support Dan's weight a little bit better. So, again, what Joe needs to do is try and posture up to the best of his ability. That's not a bad idea from Dan. There is a sweep there if he can get it. He's going for it. I forget what that sweep's called. I feel like it's called a flower sweep, but I could be wrong. He ended up hooking the leg, and he tried to take away Joe's right arm so that he could then roll over. So, it almost seemed like, yeah, they just broke it up because there was no action. Hook cross from Dan. Jab cross from Joe. You can see Dan's tired. Ooh, low kick from Joe, but it ends up, he ends up closing distance. Dan closes distance, and now he's got the side control, which that's not a good spot for Joe. What Joe's trying to do, he's trying to get out by, doing that. He's trying to push up and then roll out. So, punch landed from Joe. Teep from Dan. Ooh, nice hook combination from Dan. He tries to go for it again, but Joe goes for the clinch and then a kick. So Joe could have went knee to the head there, but they just weren't doing that. That was the rules. Oy, kick from Joe. They're both tired now, you can see. Especially Dan, though. So, jab from Joe. Oh, kick. Followed by a punch. So, yeah. That's just a horrible spot to be in if you're Dan, because when you're in a fight, you don't stop feeling tired until after the fight's over. That was a nice takedown from Dan. Oh, he goes for the knee slice and he passes the guard. Nice, that was really good. But Joe ends up reversing it. Oh, but there could potentially be a triangle there. I'm not 100% sure though. Oh no, I don't think there was, but now there's an inverted triangle. Let's see if he ends up getting it. I don't know if he's gonna. See, what Joe's trying to do is he's trying to break the triangle by attacking the, basically the equivalent of this position, but with the legs. So Joe is basically out of that. Yep, he's out of that. He's got the side control position. All right, Dan is getting to his knees. That's not the worst thing to do in that position, but he could have gone about it a little bit better of a way. He could have tried to get an arm on the outside to turn it into a single leg, as opposed to just getting to what is called turtle position. That's the position he was just in before they broke it. I don't know if they're still going to be going. Oh, they're resetting. They're resetting to the same position, just to the middle of the yard. So, yeah, I was going to say Dan's got to get out of there. At the very least, he's got to get to his back like he is there, right? Ooh, that was a nice guard pass from Joe. He ends up, not quite a cartwheel, but just about. So, side control position, Joe's being heavy. It'd be nice of him to get a crossface, but what he's trying to do is, you can see, he's really just trying to bully choke him with the pressure on the forearm pressure, excuse me. That doesn't really work very well. So, that was a really nice scramble. Joe ends up going for the back, but Dan ends up, oh, wow. This is a really nice scramble. And it's still going, too. So, Joe ends up going, Joe ends up going for the back. Dan grabs the leg. He ends up rolling through, but then Joe keeps rolling. And right now, he's got him in a headlock position, kind of a bully headlock position. No guillotine there. I thought there could have potentially been one, but, there was an arm in, definitely. So Joe is on bottom right now. Dan is just staying heavy on top. See, what Dan is doing right now is kind of the inverse, or the other end of what I was talking about earlier, right? He was trying to stay low so that Joe couldn't try and shrimp out to try and create space and get away, and it ended up paying off for a second. He ended up getting a couple of shots in. But, as we can see, there was a reversal again. So Dan has to get out of there, and you see, he keeps trying to stand up from that position, which is not the worst thing in the world. Tap, there we go. That's such a brotherly thing to do. It's like, you're mad you lost, and you're like, fuck you! He didn't let go! He didn't let go! Fucking, yeah, I mean, look, that was like a really good fight. I'd love to have a brother to train with, like, because you get really good that way, because you can just train whenever and, basically wherever at the end of the day. My senior year, I wrestled with these two dudes. I don't know if they would want me saying their names or anything like that. They were just two dudes that they were like really good wrestlers their freshman year, And, now they're two fighters that are, they're going to do pretty well if they stick with it. And they were twins, right? And, like, they just had no problem beating the shit out of each other all the time. And it just kind of made them tough. But more importantly, it made them better, because there was just constantly that, like, I want to be better than my brother type of deal. And because of that, like, when you would see them going at it, they'd really go at it. And when they would go, when they'd wrestle with other people, that would come out. It would show all the training that they get in with each other. That would show during the fight. So it's really cool to see things like that, and this is kind of like I guess you could say like a legendary fight or something like that. It's something that people, they know about, right? People know about, they see it on the internet and stuff like that. And it's interesting. It's fun, But anyway, that was Joe versus Dan Lauzon at fighting at the Pig Roast Fighting Championship.